May I invite our panelists to the stage, Dr. Archana Atreja, Medical Superintendent, Rajiv Gandhi Cancer Institute and Research Center, Dr. Madhulika Jain, Head Medical Services, Max Super Speciality Hospital, Captain Bobby Ramesh, Group Director, Nursing Excellence, Sarvodaya Healthcare, and this panel will be moderated by Aniket Aman, Data Scientist, Max Healthcare.
So good afternoon, everyone. So already we are running out of time, so let's start without further ado. So I am Aniket Aman, data scientist at Max Healthcare, and I will be moderating this session for today. So interestingly, yesterday I was at India AI Summit where the energy was over the roof. Like everywhere you turn, people were talking about Gen AI, automation, predictive models, scaling innovation, and it stuck me. The conversation in tech circles is moving very fast. So when we step into the hospitals, the question becomes much harder. It's not like can AI do this but it should be like should it be doing this? Like does it work here? Who is accountable for this? And that's the tension we are here to explore today. So we are generating more healthcare data than ever before. So lab results, imaging vitals, discharge summaries, teleconsultations, and I can go on. So, but here the question, are we truly transforming clinical intelligence or just digitizing the complexity? So I can start with the introductions for the panelists. So ma'am, we can start with you.
So, namaskar all. Myself, Dr. Madhulika Jain. As you can see, I am with Max Healthcare. I am heading Max Dwarka unit in terms of clinical operations over there. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Dr. Archana Atreja. I'm Medical Superintendent at RGCI RC Rohini.
Good afternoon all. I'm Captain Bobby Ramesh and I work as the Group Director Nursing Excellence at Sarvodaya Healthcare.
Okay, thank you. So from data to clinical intelligence. So Dr. Madhulika, let me start with you. So in daily clinical practice, are AI systems genuinely influencing decision or are they primarily improving the documentation efficiency? What do you think about that?
So, uh, like as we heard previous panels also, and as Ankit said, already AI Summit is going on and we are moving from journey towards the digitalization. Yes, of course, the data towards intelligence is moving, but currently we are in a hybrid mode which is going on. So getting raw data from various sources for a patient in terms of, if you're asking in terms of a day-to-day, hospital operations, integration of the data, patient journey, patient mapping, everything, yeah. So getting the raw data from multiple sources, integrating and converting to actionables. So first phase will be descriptive, what has happened. Like I'll share example going towards the tele-consultation, getting the appointment wherein we are integrating with the AI systems, wherein the patient, when he is or booking the appointment, few questions are asked like taking the demographic details, taking the complaints, present complaints, what what the patient is having, and integrating all the data. Once the patient goes for teleconsultation, the doctor, the consultant already gets the glimpse of a short summary or a clinical or a journey or you can say data wherein the consultation can be enhanced and it is going like this.
Yeah, thank you. So that's what the example I was looking for. So I want to bring Dr. Archana from a governance and quality standpoint. So how do we ensure AI insights translate into improvements in patient safety and rather than just dashboard visibility? What do you think, ma'am?
I think my answer you might not like. We have been discussing a lot of AI and a lot of healthcare. You have just been from AI Summit, a great achievement. I would like to know more about your experience
Sure.
there. We have only read it in papers. So, when it comes to the ground, how much of AI are we actually using in healthcare? I think it is more like your pilot studies as of now. We have executed in some parts, the ones we keep safe. Yes, there is immense potential and that cannot be undermined. But at the same time, in healthcare, you cannot be 97 or 99% sure. You
Yeah,
need
yeah.
to be 100% sure.
Right.
So that is where things are stuck. As for the safety aspect, yes, of course, there it is. It can actually be used, and it is being used. We all know about the sepsis predictor models. We know about the this fall predictors. Then we know about this DOSI best. Many of us are using. There
Yes,
must be
yes.
more companies like that that pick up the vitals. They give you an early alarm. Patients are saved. The lives are saved. But then we actually need to study what impact they're actually giving in some terms of safety. How many patients did we actually save?
Yeah.
How many patients has the mortality data due to sepsis actually decreased? Has the shifting been to ICUs
Yeah.
actually been decreased? How many code blues could we avoid? So that actually needs to be studied before we actually make a statement on that.
Great, great. Yeah.
Assuming things is not done.
Actually, yeah. Just a follow-up question on that. So, in terms of like medico-legal lens, can AI strengthen the documentation defensibility or just reduces the institutional risk? What do you think?
Yes, there I will agree. Documentation is definitely a big issue everywhere in every hospital. Ma'am being an administrator and ma'am being a nursing head will totally agree with that. That is what we are struggling with all the time. The more senior the person, the more difficult it is. And yes, AI can assist.
Yeah.
I would again say assist.
Yes.
They can only assist, it cannot replace.
Right, right.
Ultimately, it has to be rechecked, but yes, at least those pop-ups can be there. It can flag out that this information is missing. So if it is missed by chance or always due to shortage of time, which is a constant in every medical, in every health setup, so those things are not missed. That way it can add to the medical legal safety because, see, you can have a clinical pathway,
Yeah.
and it can flag that here the pathway was broken.
Right.
But then somebody has to interpret whether it is still correct or whether it had to be broken. AI can go as per a routine schedule. In medicine, it is not 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. There
Agreed.
will always be gray areas where things have to be reassessed clinically. But still, I will come to the question, the medical legal safety part, yes. Even if that document is there, that AI suggested this, and the clinician overruled because of this, I think even that improves your medical legal safety.
Actually, yeah.
Because the point, when a court decides, it is, was it in rationale with how a common medical system is taught? So yes, as per the rationale, this point was brought up, and the clinician overruled because of this reason. So that makes your case stronger.
Agreed. Yeah. So let's talk about trust. So Dr. Madhulika, when AI recommendations conflict with, let's say, clinical judgment, how is that handled? And
So definitely, the AI has a conflict with the clinical judgment, wherein you are challenging the clinical autonomy of the consultants. They will be. Second thing is alert fatigue, which a clinician can face because every time, this is not there, getting the pop-ups and alerts, multiple alerts at multiple time whenever the data is entered by the clinical secretary or anybody, the alert will come to the clinicians.
Right.
So definitely this should be worked in both the ways, like to reduce the clinical alerts also. Second, the clinical autonomy. Finally, what I believe is AI can assist in making the decisions, but AI cannot make the decisions.
yes.
So that should be kept in mind before
Yeah.
anything or everything.
So I want to bring in Captain Bobby. So actually, she's the actual frontline voice. So on the nursing floor, do predictive alerts genuinely enhance monitoring, or do they just risk contributing to alert fatigue? What do you think, ma'am?
Thank you, Aniket, for the question. As a director nursing, I feel that this predictive analytics can be a double-edged sword.
Right.
If it is context aware and if they are pre- prioritized
Yeah.
and it is embedded into the existing workflows, then it definitely become a clinical decision support lifeline which will help the nurses to identify any deterioration early
Yeah.
and to act accordingly on priority. Whereas any small change in the patient condition, if it triggers a pop-up,
Right.
then the very tool which is meant to protect the patients will become a noise which
Actually.
can be ignored by the nurses. They may think, oh, every time for a small change, this trigger is happening, so let us not bother about this trigger, and they just put off the alarm or they ignore it. And then when when if a patient deteriorates in between also, it may be missed.
Yeah, I cannot agree more. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and from your experience, what truly determines the adoption success at the front line?
If it has to be adopted at the front line, even in the last summit, which happened last year, I said, every hospital should have a nurse informatics officer who will lead it, who will lead this technology into, technology adoption in nursing, in EHR. For all this, nurses have to be involved. A nurse informatics officer has to be there who will lead it and who can be involved into the designing, who can be involved into the designing of the workflow so that whatever essential requirements are there in nursing is not missed upon, and for patient care related with regard to nursing. And staff training. Staff training is very much required. Focused training. If you are implementing a new technology, if you are implementing a new EHR, training is a must initially, and nurses also should develop trust. Every time there is an alarm, as I said, every time some false alarm is coming, and then they will not have trust on that. So nurses also should trust the analytics or the AI which is implemented. So we need to help them develop the trust in the technology. It has to be embedded into the daily workflow. Than for every new thing, for a fall risk assessment, instead of creating a new sheet, or for a modified early warning signs monitoring. Some hospitals do have integrated ones wherein staff are routinely taking the vitals of the patients, and with that vitals, the modified early warning scoring is embedded into that, into
Yeah.
the vitals chart. So nurses do not have to fill another chart. Here, if there is a trigger, automatically the alarm rings, the nurses are intimated, the alert goes to the clinician also, and the nurses will immediately work on that, call for the rapid response team, and they can prevent a code blue or a cardiac arrest.
Right.
Whereas, if the same thing, the nurse has to, for a modified early warning sign, some of the hospitals have a separate chart. The same vitals they have to enter in one place. Again, they have to enter in another chart for, detecting the early warning signs. Then there will be a time lapse.
Right.
There is a delay in catching the deterioration. So it has to be embedded into the existing workflow. Nurses have to develop trust in the technology. There has to be focused training, and above all, leadership support is very much important from the beginning, by including nurses or nurse informatics officer or nurse informatics champions for every discussion and for the rollout for every training. And even once it is rolled out on the floors everywhere, there has to be help desk where nurses can contact if they are facing any difficulties, and leaders should use the data for rewarding them than being punitive. Then this will be successful.
Yes, absolutely. That's great insight.
Thank you.
So, we all know government has introduced the DPDP, Data Privacy Act, and by mid of 2027, we all have to compliance with that. So, Dr. Archana, with evolving DPDP requirements and increasing scrutiny around data use, so how should hospital operationalize informed consent for AI-driven analytics? What do you think, ma'am?
I think informed consent is the most difficult part of DPTP if you ask an administrator.
Actually, no one has the clarity yet. Yeah.
Yeah, that is the difficult part. AI can help a lot because DPTP asks about individual consents, the time limit for the consent, and it has to be tailor-made. If we talk about forms, you can't have so many forms, and then every situation is different because every patient will have some different kind of comorbidity as well. You can make a form for one particular procedure. Once there are endless procedures, so getting the forms itself is an issue. Then for all the comorbid conditions, then there are age risks, there might be a gender risk to some. So there AI can actually be of real use.
True, true.
But again, as I said, it can assist, it cannot replace, it has to be reviewed again by the surgeon. And the risk that we run is when we get something easy, we take it for granted and we do not like to spend time on it. And
Yes.
that is where a mistake occurs. And instead of helping, it can actually screw things medico-legally.
Right.
So that has to be taken, a lot
Yeah.
of care needs to be taken there. Otherwise, yes, that is where AI can really help.
So just a follow-up question. Should AI-generated recommendations formally become part of medico-legal documentation? And do we approach accountability in that such cases? What do you think?
Like I said, yes, accountability is one big risk because you can't say that AI asked for this. No, it is ultimately your responsibility. AI can only suggest. You cannot take it for granted. Accountability cannot be overemphasized. You have to take accountability. It is your patient. You are doing the procedure. So informed consent, yes, you have to take the accountability. What was the other part? First part you said?
So yeah. So how do we approach accountability in such cases?
And how do we approach accountability? We have to make everybody aware that you can only take it for assistance.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it is your responsibility and you are the one accountable, not AI.
Yes. Yeah. So bottom line is technology maturity must be matched with the governance maturity as well.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And there has to be a governing body. Like we have audits of all things. Actually, I suggest that whenever we introduce AI also, there has to be a governing body that sees that how many times that AI suggestion was overlooked and why.
Yeah.
Because it could be justified. It is not important. AI could not be right every time.
Yeah.
Now, that will help both ways. One, you can give that information back into the AI system and the LLM model and the Gen AI model can be improved with that information. Why
Yes.
a clinician overruled that?
Yeah.
And second, if there is an error, yes, it actually helps a lot because you can train the people also. So you can train the model as well as you can train the people that see this is the suggestion given and this you overlooked. Or here you just went with the AI without actually going into the facts.
Correct.
So the governance is of paramount importance.
Yeah. Absolutely, ma'am. So I will request each one of you to respond briefly. Like if you could make one AI investment in the next 18 months that you are like fully convinced will deliver measurable value, what would it be and why? Ma'am, we can start with you. Yeah.
So definitely investment in perspective of the leadership or the hospital management,
Okay.
evaluation regarding the ROI
Yes.
will be the first foremost thing which will be looked upon. And second thing will be the clinical governance side.
Okay.
According to me, how much you are reducing in terms of, I'll not say eliminating, but reducing the workload for even the management, also for the consultants. So I'll just quickly quote with one example here.
Yes.
Long time follow-up patients. Maybe you can take transplant patients, which are to be followed long way. So definitely EHR, which is integrating into the AI system, wherein you get a longitudinal journey of the patient. When
Yes.
patient comes to the follow-up, you don't need to, turn over all the pages back, go back first, your first OPD appointment or prescription, second prescription, your journey in the IPD, your surgical outcome, your follow-up outcomes. So once you get the longitudinal journey, the doctor gets, definitely saving the time of the doctor also and saving the time of the patient also.
Yeah. Thank you.
Coming from a cancer hospital, I couldn't agree more. We all our patients are long follow-up patients.
Yeah. So what about you, ma'am? What do you think the AI investment could be?
Like I said, it can be of immense help in DPTP once we are still in the process of execution. So once it's there, yes, it will be really useful because it is not practically possible to make a separate consent for every procedure for every patient. And then you have to put that clause of how much time it is valid for. There's so many things. You need to share it with the patient. So it cannot be done without AI.
Right.
But yes, it is still a long game. I think we all hospitals are seeing AI demos every day in and day out. So far, I have not been able to trust anyone.
Yes.
The only place that I could be trusting it in the current situation is one analysis, like ma'am said, the dashboards, where you could have this ready-made reports. It could help you out much faster
Yeah.
and much more accurate reports. And the second would be that voice to text in the OPDs.
Right.
Right, that initial assessment part. The final, when it comes to a senior consultant's notes, no, I will not trust that because there's a lot more that goes into it.
Actually, yeah.
Right, but yes, that initial assessment part, that RMO clinics, that history taking part, there AI can definitely be of great help. Of course, again with a pinch of salt, it has to be reviewed, it has to be checked, it has to be verified.
Absolutely. What about you, ma'am? What do you think?
In our hospital, we were the first NABH digital health certified hospital. Gold certification we got in the country. We were the second one to adopt the digital health standard.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
The second certificate serial number we have. Though we have EHR and we have predictive analytics in AI, some even remote monitoring we have with life science for patients, early signs, modified early warning signs as well as for fall triggers. I feel as a director nursing, I feel if we have this embedded into our workflow, mainly for work optimization, we have for many other things. Everything is paperless now, but definitely the duty rota of the nurses is still in papers and registers. If based on the patient acuity and the nurse's competency, if AI can predict and AI can help optimize the workflow or the manpower, it will become very easier for the nurse managers. They do not have to spend hours of time in allocation of nurses because it's a tedious task.
Yes.
And more time can be spent at the patient's bedside in patient care.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I feel we would like to invest on one thing, means it would be on the nursing allocation related software, which would help allocate based on the patient acuity and the nurse's competence.
Great, great. So, what we have heard today is realism, not hype. AI in healthcare is not about algorithms, it's about governance, trust. What tells you an AI system is ready for institutional deployment, integration into real workflows. Thank you to our distinguished panelists for grounding this conversation in the practical insights. And thank you all for being part of this important discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.